Hi, and welcome back to my channel. I've decided to start making more YouTube videos to just talk about whatever I wanted to because I'm bored. And so if you're watching, thanks. Today's topic is going to be about The Little Mermaid. She's my favorite Disney princess, and last video I talked a bit about Zatanna, who's my favorite superhero. So now it's Ariel's turn. Today's video is kind of like an argument or a defense for The Little Mermaid because I see her get picked on a lot and I've had enough, you know? So let's dive right in and get started. So the main thing that people like to say about Ariel is that she is only after Prince Eric and that she gave up everything in her voice to just be with a man, which I hate to break it to you, is just not the case. Sure, it's a very gross simplification of her character and her story as a whole, but it's just not the case. So, first things first is, we all know this, that Ariel loves the human world and she wants to be a part of it, hence the song. She has just always been fascinated with that stuff. But I think what's important to remember is that the knowledge of humans and the human world is strictly forbidden in her kingdom, specifically by her father. And not to call some people out, but who doesn't actively pursue knowledge that is forbidden by their parents? I'm just saying. What's kind of very interesting about it is that she grows up in this sort of environment that is very afraid of humans and like heavily distrusts them. Like her father isn't the only one who shares that sentiment. I mean, sure, it largely is his fault that the kingdom has that sentiment, but it's not just him, it works, it rubs off. Like the rest of the mer people are afraid of humans, they're not about it. So it's kind of interesting that she has become so attached to humanity and all the stuff they make, and that she's fascinated by it. It's just, I don't know, pretty brave of her, I would say. She frequently finds wonderment and awe in like our simplest things like forks, boots, whatever the case may be, whatever she happens to find while searching treasure ships. She's just so awestruck and inspired by all of it, and it's pretty adorable. And then secondly, I would like to say that when she first meets Eric, he is sailing. And it's kind of implied from the movie that it's like the first time she's seen fireworks. And fire was one of the things she sang about in her song. And so she had just been singing about how she wanted to know what fire was, why it burned, and then she sees this ship, which she knows humans are on, with fireworks, which come from fire. And that's what initially draws her to be so close to the ship and to see Prince Eric. And when she sees Eric, he's playing an instrument, which is kind of similar to what she's just learned from Scuttle, that humans play an instrument. Clearly he's mistaken the object, but that's what she knows he's doing. And she sees that he has this dog, this pet, this animal friend, and he's dancing and doing all the things that she wants to do as a human. He's kind of, in that moment, representing all that she loves about humanity in a single person. And so it's very easy to say that she falls in love at first sight, or that she at least becomes infatuated with him that easy. I mean, I've seen strangers on the street doing far less and fallen in love with them. I mean, it's just what you do, isn't it? And another important thing I think to keep in mind is that a lot of those things are similar to what she does as a mermaid. Like, she had just sang a song, Eric was playing music, he's sailing, which means he's traveling, exploring. She likes to travel, go on adventures. He's got his animal friend. She's got at least 3 animal friends. I mean, it's kind of different because they can actually talk to her, but, you know, it's kind of this, it's a similarity nonetheless. And then when she's listening to him talk, she hears him talking about pressures from his kingdom and how he's looking for something more in life, which is also another similarity that she shares with him. So you can kind of read between the lines and see that Ariel and Eric aren't that different, which I think is pretty good. That's pretty neat. Jumping a bit further ahead in the movie, I would also like to point out that it wasn't Ariel's idea to give up everything to go be with Eric. Like, it wasn't like she made the decision ultimately, but there was a lot of different factors that influenced that decision. Firstly, her father kind of very aggressively draws the line in the sand that her, her passion, her infatuation, her feelings are never going to be welcome in her kingdom and with her family. So unbeknownst to him and her at the time, he makes her feel like she's never gonna be a part of mer people society, mer people culture. Like, she's never going to fully belong there. And, he didn't mean it to come out that way, but that's how it came out to her. And there was some video that put it very eloquently, saying that in that moment, Ariel misidentifies the villain in her story as her father. They have this clash, this miscommunication, and now she thinks he's the bad guy when, he's being overprotective and aggressively overprotective and kind of manipulative. He's got some flaws in his parenting style, which, what parent doesn't, but it drives her away from him because at first, all she wanted to do was just see Eric again, It wasn't her being like, oh, I know, I'm gonna go see the sea witch, give up a big part of me, and then I'll be able to be with him because men are the only thing I'm interested in. Like, no, that's not the case. She's always loved humanity, and her father has kind of sent her away, created that barrier, emotional distance. Third of all, in that situation and her decision making, it's the sea witch who puts the idea into Ariel's head. Granted, we are supposed to infer that Ariel is naive, but the sea witch also kind of lays it all out very clearly. The only thing Ariel didn't know about the sea witch's plan was that the sea witch wanted her to fail and was going to interfere with her wooing the prince. Because the sea witch presents it as pretty much like, here is your option. You can either stay as a mermaid, or you can give up this little voice. It's just a small thing. And you can be with the people you love, with the man who represents everything you love about those people. It's to her, it's an easy decision because she feels like she can never go back to being a mermaid. She feels like she's got nothing left to lose. And when she gives up her voice, I would argue that she feels like she hasn't really lost anything. We don't really see her being upset that she's lost her voice. She's just so excited and happy to be there. And then when they have their little kiss the girl scene, even Ursula is surprised that it's working. Ariel almost got the kiss from the prince there. Like, Ariel was succeeding. Like, she gave up her voice, yes, but, we know that it was the right decision ultimately. And I'm not saying, I do get the arguments that it's, not feminist and it's, a bad lesson to teach young girls. Absolutely you shouldn't be trying to silence yourself, give up your voice, give up big parts of yourself for just one person. But I would also like to point out that Ariel isn't the only one who sacrificed in their relationship. Eric made a pretty substantial sacrifice as well. Not as big as physically changing himself, but he does sacrifice a dream he has. When she saves his life, he falls in love with her too, which is kind of cute. They both kind of fell in love with each other at first sight, which, again, that's unrealistic. We shouldn't be expecting that. But, in the confines of the story, suspending our disbelief, it's pretty cute that both of them kind of feel the same way and the same moment. He falls in love with her, but because the sun is behind her, he doesn't get a good look at her. And specifically, he falls in love with her voice because that's what he hears. So he falls in love with the thing that she gives up about herself, which I think is important and is another thing that is very much overlooked. And he's constantly playing the tune she was singing on his flute. You know, it's very endearing. But then after the whole kiss the girl scene, he begins to fall in love with Ariel. Like, he's seen her joy and her excitement over little things. He's seen how brave and kind of reckless she is with the carriage driving. I don't know what the proper term is, but that was a moment where he liked her. And then the whole kiss the girl thing, he liked her. He started to fall in love with her all over again, and not realizing that it was the same girl he'd fallen in love with. He falls in love with her twice, which is also kind of cute, and I never see anyone mention that. So then, there's another kind of really cute moment. I keep saying that. The movie's just cute, okay? He has this moment with his servant, Grimsby, and Grimsby points out that, you know, better than a dream girl is a girl of flesh and blood. And Eric, like, agrees with him. He throws his flute, and that's the symbol of him giving up looking for the voice that he fell in love with. Like, he gives up this dream of finding the girl who saved him. He gives up that fantasy love in order to pursue Ariel as she is in human form, which is like, it's like this cute, crazy sacrifice. Like, he took a big step and was like, you know what, that's right, Ariel's pretty great. I really like her. I know I can be happy with her. Even though I've had this crazy romance happen to me, with falling in love with this beautiful voice that saved me, I'm gonna go be with Ariel. And then it's ruined by Ursula interfering for the second time, using Ariel's voice, which I just think is, you know, it's just, wow, I don't know. You know, and of course, maybe I'm reading too much into stuff, but it just has always stood out to me. I guess I just want to say, like, one last thing, is that it's kind of minor, but both Ariel and Eric save each other, with Ariel saving Eric more times than he saves her, which, you know, I think is pretty cool of her. Because how many Disney princesses can say they've saved their prince's lives? And how many of them can say that they did it more than the prince did? I'm just saying, I'm throwing it out there. Because she saves his life when he's drowning. She then saves his life again when Ursula was going to blast him with her trident and the eels had him. And then he saves her when he throws the harpoon at Ursula, and then he also saves her by, you know, killing Ursula, skewering her with a ship. I guess they tie then. So, never mind what I said about her doing it more than once, but they tie, which I think that's right. It's equal. They're kind of equal. You know, they both sacrifice, they both save each other, and they both fall in love with each other pretty instantly, despite all the differences and, you know, because of all the similarities between them. It's kind of a cute love story, if you give it a chance. So yeah, just maybe think about that the next time you're just simplifying Ariel to someone who was just out to get a guy. That just isn't the case. It would be like saying that's what Jasmine was after, because she doesn't really do much except get out of the castle. And so it would be like saying that she only did that to go find a man, when it wasn't. Just because she ends up with the man at the end of it, it just doesn't mean that that's what she was after. So yeah, thanks again.